This tutorial is going to walk you through the layout and the style menus on WordArt.com. We've already done words and put our words in. We've chosen what shape we wanted to have our words in, and we've decided what font we wanted. So the layout menu is next. The first options that you have here are how you want your words to display. So right now it's chosen as horizontal. You can see that math on the sides over here are at a different angle, but that, if you recall, that's because on the first one, under angle, under the words menu, I changed this to a 45-degree. So that will keep that the way it is, unless I want to change this back and make it default again. If I click on visualize, it will put them back and have them all as a horizontal layout. And that's because horizontal is by default chosen in this menu. By clicking one of the other options and visualize, you're going to see in my picture that the words will change which way they go. So I've got some vertical, some horizontal, some at an angle, crossing they call it. I can choose to randomize it. I can do whatever I want to. I also have how many words are going to be in my visual over here, in my infographic. By default, it's set to auto, where it chooses the number of words, and usually 300 is about where it goes. I can choose to define. Keep as is means it keeps it the way it is. But if I choose define and I move this down, you can see that there are many less words already. If I choose it down to 1, I'm only going to put in my most important. So as I use this slider, it will change the way my image appears here. I can also use the visualize button if I don't see it changing the way I think it should. The density slider will tell you like how crowded your words are going to be. So it by default set it to 20%. If I move it down to 10% and visualize, you should see that the words are a little more crowded than they were. So there's less space in between my words. If I move it up to 40% and visualize, you should see that the words are now spread out a little bit more. There's more gaps in between. My final menu option here on the bottom is style. And style will help you mainly with the colors on this side. When you choose an image, it will choose some different colors that go with it. And by default, the shape, that means I picked the catcher's shape. These are the default colors in this palette that go with it. And you can see I cannot click on it right now because it's under shape. If I want to change those to what I want, I can click on custom, and then I can choose the palette. Within this palette, these are the 3 different colors that it has by default. If I don't like one of those colors, I click on it and it removes it from the palette. Now, if I close this and I visualize again, I will no longer have red as one of my options, except for under words. For reading, I chose the color red, so it is keeping that one there. If I come back here and say to make it default, now my red is gone. If I could come back into my colors here again under the style option, maybe I want to add one that is a deep blue. So I can move my little sliders where I want them to, and then I can say add to palette, and it will put the dark blue in there. And now I can close it, and you'll see that some of those colors have changed. My color emphasis slider, as I choose this, you're going to see the words are going to become either a little more dull, or if I put it down to 0, that's the brightest that my colors will be. So you don't see a whole lot of change here, but there is a little bit emphasizing how much color is showing. Background color, I can choose a different background for it or make it transparent depending on where I'm going. My shape transparency is how much of the outline am I going to see of my catcher in this case. There's not much here, but if I turn it up to 28, you're going to see my catcher appear much greater. So you can determine how much you want that to be. Animation speed and rollover text have to do with when I roll over them here and what action happens. Remember that when we save this as an image later, none of that's going to matter. So we're not going to spend any time on that one right now.